We're getting back on track here with Kathryn and Emily, but as you know, we won't stay there for long because this is the Going Off Track podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Going Off Track podcast. I am Kathryn, that's Emily, and we are headed into Suzuka. But before we dive into the Suzuka of it all, we have some big things to talk about that obviously everybody has been talking about for...
I would say big things. I would say big thing.
A big thing that happened that everybody's been talking about. Emily had to go on a business trip, so we are talking about it now. We are throwing in our 2 cents for whatever it's worth about the Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson switcheroo.
And I honestly think people will continue to talk about this all season, so a few days late doesn't hurt. We're just joining the conversation. But yeah, so if you don't live under a rock, you know that Yuki was promoted from Racing Bulls or the Red Bull Junior team to the actual A team. He will be replacing Liam Lawson. He will be Max's teammate. I personally am thrilled and so excited to see these two as teammates. Like, I'm coming around to Max. I've always loved Yuki. We've always supported Yuki on this pod. And to see those two together, I feel like it's just the odd couple. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's going to be so good. I'm so excited. I'm excited to see that dynamic between the two of them. I think that's what I'm most excited about.
I mean, honestly, the marketing potential for these two, like, that's huge. The dynamic there where, like, we've already seen, you know, because over the years, Red Bull and AlphaTauri, Toro Rosso, whatever, they always do their marketing together because why not? So you've already seen, like, the back and forth, but now it's Yuki and Max versus Liam and Isaac. And I think that's
like the worst part too, because it's like Liam still has to stick around. Like, if you get replaced, it's like you can go sulk on your own, do something else, whatever. But Liam, like, still has a job and still has a seat. And, like, I don't know. I feel like this is just the downturn of his career and he'll flame out because that's so depressing and unmotivated, like, to see that happen.
Though, to be fair, the careers of the people who that has also happened to, Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly, have not gone terribly.
That's
so
fair.
To speak, as in they are still in Formula One, and Pierre is in a car that drives, and Alex is in a car with a lot of potential.
No, I guess that's fair. I think it's just, I mean, he got demoted. He probably won't do super well in the VCARB. I think Hadjar's going to outdrive him, and I can't wait to see that. But I think he is the hype. Everyone overhyped Lawson. He was oversold. I think that's just point blank. Like, he came in a few races here and there, flash in the pan. It was like, wow, yes, you are our best choice to help, you know, win this championship. And then he was doing worse than Checo, who they dumped. So
right. For legitimate reasons, and I do want to reinforce that because the Checo of it all has been coming up, which is Red Bull was still right to move on from Checo, even though Lawson was not a great replacement for him in the difficult to drive Red Bull. So, and I have said that many times before, but I think it's good for Liam to be able to still be in Formula One. This isn't a Nick DeVries situation where Nick DeVries got replaced and has to drive in Formula E now, which Formula E is Formula E and it's the future of cars or whatever, and fine. But Liam still has some opportunities to drive in Formula One, which is one of the most difficult things to do ever. Like, there's 20 drivers, it'll be 22 next year, so we can stick around.
He still has the rest of the season to, like, turn it around and get eyes on him.
And I think he's capable of doing that. Like, obviously, we're going into race 3 this weekend, but Liam has 22 more races, including this weekend, to turn his season around, even if he wasn't able to do what they needed him to do in the big boy Red Bull.
Right, he has a lower bar. No, that's fair. I do want to pause here and just go back to Nick DeVries for, like, a hot second. Because if we all go back a few years and remember on Drive to Survive, him entering the seat and saying, I'm here to be the number one driver, I bet Yuki's just like, look at me now, Nick. Look at me now. Where are you? Where am I?
Honestly, I don't think Yuki knows who Nick is anymore.
No,
But
and I mean,
okay,
I
that's
know
a
I
little
said
mean, but
he's forgotten about him. He's had so many people come through that door. Are you kidding me? He's finally like exiting himself. And that's the thing, I think and here's the thing, I think Lawson was oversold, and I think Yuki, we don't know like the height of his potential because he's been stuck in such shitty cars. I
Right.
really think he's going to excel, especially having Max as his teammate and like really pushing him. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And I think one of the other problems is Red Bull they back themselves into to a corner. And I've talked about this before when talking about Liam, but Liam had a contract that basically said, I will stay with Red Bull through the end of 2024, and if you don't give me a Formula 1 seat in 2025, I'm going to go somewhere else. And there would have been plenty of opportunities for him to find a seat in another F1 car, another team. So Red Bull really had this driver who has a ton of potential, who was showing dinner time for Bishop, that he was very capable in a VCARB, stepping in for Danny, performing probably just about on par, maybe a little bit better than Danny. You can argue that till the cows come home of whether it should have been Danny, whether it should be Liam, etc. But Red Bull backed themselves into a corner with a driver that they couldn't afford to get rid of or couldn't afford to lose in case he stepped in to the Red Bull and pulled a Kimi Antonelli.
Right. Which he didn't.
And so it's unfortunate and it's difficult, but I don't think that 2 races is too soon. I don't think Red Bull can afford, to wait any longer than they did. Obviously, you're not going to do it in the first race. That's something like Flavio Briatore would do if he could get away with it. And
hey, Helmut's not that far off from Flavio.
I mean, he really isn't. They're 2 peas in a tyrannical pod, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's like the biggest question in everyone's mind, or that's been floating around, is like, you only gave him 2 races. Is this too soon? Why only after 2 races? You gave him a sprint weekend and torrential downpour, and now you're making the call. I don't want to like put more conspiracies out there, but I don't think Red Bull ever truly intended to keep him around for the full season.
Say more.
So, I mean, that's okay. Go like the examples that you said. Albon, Gasly, like they were cut pretty quickly, right? They like are there and then they're not. I think they were like, hey, we have this rookie. We truly don't know how good he is or not. But like, we have Yuki. We still have Yuki. So worst case, Ontario will throw Yuki into the Red Bull. And I think Yuki was always their safety net, but I think they just were like, hey, we've kept him around. We got to do something. Like, what do we do? We'll put him in the car. 2 races. Okay, he's shit. We can move on. But I think I don't know what was in Liam's contract at all of like, you have to give me a seat in 2025 or like.
That's all alleged, by the way, but I'm pretty sure that's been reported on.
And like, how strict was it? Did he have to hit so many races? Did he have to do XYZ? And so I don't know if they were contractually bound to even give him a seat. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know how these contracts are written, but I just knowing what we know about Red Bull and how they treat drivers if they're not performing, I mean, it's funny. We all thought Jack had a really short leash. I think Liam had a shorter one. And I don't think they intended or wanted him to end the season with them. I think this was their plan all along. That, or they're just like ignoring the fact that they really messed up and sweeping it all under the rug and putting all their eggs into Yuki's basket. Because like Helmut even came out and said like, oh no, Yuki's finishing our season. We're not reconsidering anything else. So like, why do they have more confidence in Yuki, who they wouldn't put in the seat in the first place, than they did in Lawson? That's the piece that doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And we talked about this before we started recording, and like you said about sweeping things under the rug, where I do think they're like, they've seen Yuki this week on he's done a couple sim runs, and they are what I've been hearing is that things have been pretty positive with what they've seen from Yuki in the simulator. So it could be a question of, well, why didn't we do this in the first place? And then the reason why they didn't do this in the first place, other than the fact that we've always supposed that Helmut Marko just doesn't like Yuki, is the Honda of it all. And
Right.
Honda has kept Yuki, or has made Red Bull keep Yuki in the junior team, whether it's AlphaTauri, VCARB, Racing Bulls, and they haven't been able to get rid of him.
Let's pause there, because it's not necessarily keeping Yuki at the junior team, it's keeping him in the Red Bull family.
Yes.
It's not specific to VCARB, because I think a lot of people think that Honda owns one of the VCARB seats, which is why Yuki is there. No, it's Honda's has been a partner with Red Bull, and in their partnership, they have very strongly enforced that Yuki stays within the Red Bull family. So that could be the Red Bull, big boy team or the junior team, but it's always just happened to be the junior team because they're kind of like, we're stuck with him, we're keeping him here. But now obviously they're promoting him. But okay.
Right.
I just want to clear that up, because when you said junior team, I was like, well, not necessarily.
Yes. It is keeping Yuki within the Red Bull family, which is why I do think that with the Liam contract question, they were backed into a corner where I really do think that in 2023, when they announced Yuki's contract extension in Japan, that they really didn't want to do that. And they really wanted to pit Lawson versus Daniel for the Checo seat rather than Yuki. And so they had like 3 guys for 2 seats for 1 seat. And so they really couldn't get around that, because Honda was really like, you're keeping our guy, you're keeping Yuki, who we pay him for you. So you don't even need to worry about that in your budget, because Honda pays Yuki's contract right now, which will not happen next year.
No, it will not. And honestly, I think Danny kind of screwed this whole thing, because they were like, oh, Danny is going to move to Red Bull and take over for Checo, and Liam is going to, move here, and it'll be Liam and Yuki, and it'll be great. And then, like, Checo, sucked, and Danny sucked, and then they're like, well, shoot, we had too many, now we don't have enough. Now, like, we're randomly going to throw Isaac Hadjar a seat.
Yeah, but yeah, nowhere was Isaac Hadjar's name in any picture
at all. He was not on anyone's
radar.
Mind, no radar, but he's doing good. For a rookie, he's the
potential is there.
The potential is there. We can see it. That's the thing. And then, but there's, which differs from some of the rookies. But yeah, I don't know. I truly don't think, I think Red Bull was backed into a corner with everything happening. And they're like, we're just gonna, this is plan A, plan B, plan C. Plan A, he sucks right away. We pull him because we don't want him anyways, but we had no one else. Plan B was, oh, wow, by a miracle, he's good. We can look like heroes and geniuses. And plan C, it's like, where is Danny in Australia? Can we get him on a flight tomorrow?
Speaking of that, Helmut did mention that Danny made a paddock visit, I think in Australia, which obviously it's his home race, and he's one of the most popular Formula One drivers in the country, let alone the planet. And people were kind of speculating, well, what if Red Bull called Danny? I'm like, Danny is done.
He's done.
Danny
he's so done.
is so, stick a fork in the man. He is done. He's not even, I doubt he's thinking about Cadillac.
No.
He's not thinking of, he might, go and do some NASCAR, IndyCar racing, something in the States. Maybe he'll follow in Kevin Magnussen's footsteps and do some endurance racing, whatever. But I don't see Danny coming back into Formula One as a driver.
No, I don't see it. He's done. He's walked away. I think it didn't end how he wanted it to, which is unfortunate. Because in a perfect world, we all wanted the fairy tale ending for him, right? To be so good in the VCARB, be promoted to Red Bull, race with Max for a few more years, and then retire. But obviously that didn't go as planned. He looks like he's enjoying his life and so happy, and good for him. He hasn't had a vacation in how many years because this schedule is so demanding? I honestly don't want him to come back either. As much as I love him, I don't want that for him because I don't think it's ever going to go well again. Because he even said, like, in Drive to Survive, he questioned it. He's like, I used to just go, and now I, like, question before I go. And he's like, that's when you know you're done. So.
Right, exactly. So that really puts, like, the Daniel side of things in our opinion to bed. And I really, it'll be very interesting to see how Yuki performs. And Yuki he is so excited. He is saying all the things. The man wants a podium in his home race.
I think he was like, it'd be cool, but he's not expecting it.
I think he really wants it, but, like, this is the man who finished P13 in 2022, P12 in 2023, and scored a point last year in a track that does not love him.
I see a positive trend, Kathryn.
Hey, you're the analytical numbers person, so, like, yes, but he's so excited. This is a great opportunity. Honda is salivating over the fact that they're having a Japanese driver in the Red Bull in Japan, and it's I want it to go well, and I don't think that the second Red Bull seat is just cursed because everything is so made for Max. I think that if there's somebody who can figure out, it'll be Yuki.
Yeah, and so, okay, I have a few more points to lay down here, because we're only 16 minutes in and we have nothing else to talk about.
There's no news, it's fine.
There's literally no news. So, I just know, I have a feeling in my bones that Yuki's gonna do really well, which, great. But take a step back and look at, like, the bigger picture. How dumb is Red Bull gonna look when they finally put Yuki in the car that we've all been begging them to put Yuki in forever? And it's like, both of these drivers, their driving styles, their personalities, like, what they like in a car. Yuki's even said, like, everyone says the setup is so hard and so crazy, but, like, it's fine, and I sim race great in it, and nothing feels weird. So it's like, cool. So he's comfortable with this car that seemingly everyone else is uncomfortable in. That's one. But also, you watch these drivers for years. They both have been in this Red Bull Racing, farming system forever. How do you not recognize that these two would be a good match as teammates? Because I think yes, if you're a good driver, you should be able to drive, but I also think it matters if your driving style matches your teammate, because the car, like, it's so much more effort and work to have the car set up two completely different ways. Like, you need to have the same car to an extent.
Right.
And I just don't know how you miss that two drivers would be good teammates. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're just going to look stupid. Honestly, end of the day, moral of the story, Red Bull's going to look stupid for not doing this sooner.
I think, yes, they will, but they're going to spin the crap out of this. I mean, look at how they've been spinning on Christian Horner for the past year, but they're going to spin it as, hey, it all worked out in the end for us, didn't it?
And they'll be like, oh, well, Yuki needed that one more year to develop.
Those 2 extra races to start off 2025.
We wanted a big shebang in Japan for him.
Yeah, exactly. So and the other really interesting part to this is Yuki's last season as Honda's driver, because as Honda leaves Red Bull and goes to Aston Martin for 2026, as Honda has already kind of confirmed that they're not going to force Aston Martin to take a driver, because right now they have Stroll and Alonso, and obviously Stroll's not going to fire his son.
I think it's less Honda saying they're not going to force them, and more Aston Martin saying, nope, we're not putting up with it. So I think it's a little bit of both, maybe more the Aston Martin telling them. But yeah, they came out and said, hey, we helped support him and get him into F1 to develop, and, like, he's had 5 years or 4 years to do that, and now, like, he, can do that on his own, which when this came out, we were like, yeah, no, that makes sense. They got a Japanese driver onto the grid, and he's done well enough to stay on the grid.
Yeah, he's the first Japanese driver since 2012 to score points in his home race. So it's like that's a huge accomplishment for Honda, especially when Honda is very much so when the going is good, we're gonna stick around, but as soon as the economy turns, we're leaving the sport. So like
Yeah.
they're so flighty. We've talked about it in the genealogy series, which is linked above. But it's going to be interesting now. Yuki has a chance to make a show and extend with Red Bull, or maybe
Find a
go
seat
somewhere
elsewhere.
else.
Yeah.
So
And
this
I do
this is
want to I do want to point out one thing too. Like, I think it's important to note and to really keep in mind that yes, Honda got him in, but he still drove well enough to stick around. Because even if Red Bull really wanted him out of their, one of their JV team's seats, another team would have picked him up. Like, he's not
right.
they're not dragging him along. So yes, like Honda's been there and supporting it and really like keeping him at that seat versus like changing, because 5 years is a long time to be on one team. So I think Honda helped with that. I think it also hurt him too, because he wasn't able to like really open up to other contracts and other offers.
Right, because he was stuck in the junior team that was at the time not looking to move
Right.
him up, and also kept giving him very mediocre cars. Like a lot of the problem with the current, Red Bull pipeline is Red Bull, like like back in like the Toro Rosso and maybe even some of the AlphaTauri era, the car was better than what we have seen in this VCARB era, and I mean the Racing Bulls era that we're in now, that this car is much improved. But the tail end of the AlphaTauri era to the first, the year of the weird name, it's been a very difficult car to really prove yourself as a capable driver, which we've seen with like Zhou Guanyu's career was completely squandered because he was at with Sauber Alfa Romeo in a turtle, and he is now as a Ferrari reserve driver.
Yeah, no, and that's what it goes back to my point earlier. I think Yuki has so much untapped potential. Like, we don't even know how good of a driver he is.
Right.
I'm really excited to see like what he does, because also I think it's different throwing a rookie into a Red Bull being Max's teammate versus throwing an experienced driver into the Red Bull and being Max's teammate.
Yeah, I think Yuki will have some different challenges compared to what Liam has, because Liam's challenge was learn the car, get used to the car, drive the car. And
Right.
now Yuki is going to come in and he's going to have to learn how to be the support for Max's 5th title. Like that's something that Yuki has not experienced. And obviously how to give your teammate a slipstream and how to work together as a team and all that. But it's still, this is a whole other level than like trying to hold off a Haas to secure P10, whereas the Red Bull is like, you have to hold off Lando Norris, George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, the Ferraris, if they could ever figure themselves out, and if the cars aren't underweight. Like this is going to be a ton of really interesting new challenges for Yuki to grapple with and wrap his head around.
Yeah, and it's not to like fight to get a point, it's fight to get on the podium and get a lot of points. But honestly, I mean, end of the day, they made this decision because they think that Yuki can actually get points to help in the championship. Because what place is Red Bull sitting in right now?
I think they're 3rd. I'm pretty sure they're 3rd.
I think it was P4, but then Ferrari lost points. So now
no, it was fully 3rd. Ferrari went from 4th to 5th. They're behind Williams, because that is just hilarious. But yes, so and the thing about where Red Bull is in the standings right now is McLaren has 78 points, Mercedes has 57, Red Bull has 36. Right. All 36 are from Max, whereas the McLaren and the Mercedes points are all from both drivers.
They have 2 drivers, yeah. No, I think it's going to even the playing field. It's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. But I truly think Yuki's going to do really well. I really do. I would love to see Yuki get on a podium. I don't think he's ever gotten on a podium before.
No. I mean, not in the majors.
No, and like we know he's good in quali because he gets to Q3 in a VCARB in a turtle. So give him like an actual F1 car.
And we've seen even the less turtley VCARB racing bull. Like they're like this is a much better vehicle. Like, Yuki could have pulled out some really great performances in the Racing Bulls this year had he stayed, but he's not. And
Right. Yeah. No, I'm excited. So let's flip this then. So Yuki's gonna do really well, maybe land on some podiums, help Max, yada yada. We have to talk about it, even though I think it's pointless. How do we think Liam's gonna do at Racing Bulls?
I know you think that he's probably going to like burn out and, you know, fade off into the sunset. I think that he is going to move to the rookie driver program that Pierre Gasly was put on when Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon were switched in 2020. Yes, that was 2020 because in 2021 Alex left and it was replaced by Checo. So,
Checo. Oh, I'm backwards. Yes.
So I think that Liam has a really good opportunity to put out some good performances in the VCARB if he can get his head around the fact that he's still in Formula One, he's still a very capable driver, he's still one of the 20 best drivers on the planet, then I think that he will be able to survive some time in the Racing Bulls, and then we'll probably move to a different organization once a equilateral seat opens up somewhere.
Yeah, I think maybe he'll become the 20th Alpine reserve driver. But no, I think it's going to take a few races for him to come back though. Like, I think he's going to slump and then maybe go back up, but I don't think he's going to like turn it around in 1 week and like finish P6.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, this is a lot. This is very difficult, but I think that we will see a lot more out of Hadjar, and of course we are Team Hadjar, but we're gonna see a lot more out of Hadjar, this is hilarious because we didn't know who this guy was 5 months ago,
and now we're like his number one fan. Honestly, give us an underdog and we'll root for them.
Right? It's like everything about it, but
and a heartwarming story. Honestly. I know Helmet said that the tears were embarrassing. The tears sold me. Like, I am forever a Hadjar fan because of the tears. I am pro crying in public.
I mean, even Isaac said that he was embarrassed, and everyone's like, "No, you're allowed to feel your feelings." But anyway, I do think Hadjar will probably outdrive Liam this season. Liam, I think, will meet the benchmarks that VCARB asks him to meet, and we will see what kind of driver we get out of him next year. And it could be a whole like night and day situation. He also, he only had a 1-year rookie contract. So we have a lot of contract questions this year.
Yeah, if they both just kind of like bumble along, I could see both of them returning next year because like who else is going to replace them?
Right. The thing about Red Bull is their backup right now is still a Yuma Iwasa, who is still really not there yet. And
they don't have anyone.
They don't have anyone who they would put in the VCARB. That said, I think that they would probably be more open to putting somebody outside of the Red Bull family in the seat Yuki is currently occupying if they get a better offer. Well, I think there's every chance that they're going to keep Yuki, and Yuki will be a real Red Bull driver and not a Honda driver driving for Red Bull. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is just going to be perfect. It's going to be those two until Max decides to retire, and then Yuki will be number one driver. And Helmut Marko will, I don't know,
eat his shorts.
He will eat his shorts.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've talked ad nauseum about this. Yes. We're very excited for Yuki. It's going to be great. I can't wait. Okay, so let's talk about Suzuka.
Yes.
One of our favorite races. Also, I was very, very close to actually going to this race because I was supposed to not be working in April on a busy time, but unfortunately I am. But I was like, I'm going to go to Japan for 2 weeks. During these 2 weeks, I was like, oh, it's Suzuka. It's the GP. Maybe I go. Lol, that didn't happen. Right. But one of our favorite races. It's absolutely beautiful. We're so happy that it's earlier in the schedule now because we get the cherry blossoms, which is so cool. And it's just an overall good race. It's always crazy. Something always happens. But yeah, Suzuka.
last year was a pretty interesting race. Also, last year it was the 4th race of the year, right? And this year it's the 3rd. This was like knee deep in the Williams doesn't have enough parts to fix their cars crisis. Yeah, I pulled up our rundown from last year and I was like, oh, this is the race after Miami where Williams had Logan Sargent withdraw because they only had one car. So Alex drove Logan's car in, and then they got Alex's car back for Suzuka because there was a couple weeks between races, and then he crashed again at the start in Suzuka, and they had to ship the car back to Grove. And it's like, well, is the car going to be?
Oh my god, Vols is just like dying right now.
that was what everyone was talking about this time last year. And then I was also looking at our hot lap recap, and apparently Lewis got overtaken a lot because the Mercedes strategy that they gave him was just not great. It was not a great race for Lewis. So, yeah. But yeah, it was a very interesting race.
Yeah. And like, I guess looking at this year, right, because it's a race earlier, it's the race that we get all of our answers to all of our questions of like,
so
where cars are actually going to be.
Maybe.
I know.
Because we've been talking about this for weeks.
We're like, we finally get to know who's good and who's not, and like, what's real, what's not, who's lying to us. Like, take the mask off. And then we get here, and now it's probably gonna rain on Sunday.
Yeah, so I checked the weather before we started recording. Right now, there's a 50% chance of rain Saturday evening, so that would potentially not impact qualifying. But there's also a 50% chance of rain Sunday morning, which, depending on how fast the fronts move, I am not a meteorologist, may impact the race. And if we have another wet race, then we're really not going to know until Bahrain. And then, of course, Bahrain had rain during testing back in February. So, like, weather is weird. Climate change. But anyway.
I just want some good, clean fun. I feel like that's not too much to ask.
We also did not have good, clean fun in Suzuka last year. And I mean, we really don't ever have good, clean fun in Suzuka. I don't think we've ever had good, clean. No. Do you remember? Well, this 2022. Gasly almost died. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes, 2022. And I still haven't forgiven a certain Sky Sports commentator for his comments on Pierre Gasly nearly dying for something that was not his fault.
I know.
I hold grudges, people.
Oh, Kathryn holds grudges so hard against people she's never talked to and will never talk to in her life. But they are on her shit list. But and they should never cross her.
People in my life, you well know, I do not discriminate with the grudges that I hold.
See, I like to say I don't hold grudges, but like I know I do. I'm just not like I don't know. Okay, speaking of FP1. We have rookie appearances this weekend. The first time we're seeing rookie appearances, which is ironic because we have 6 rookies. But no, it's not rookies. It's people who don't have a seat.
Yes. So this is really interesting for a number of reasons. Number one is they have increased the number of rookie appearances this year. So for every Formula One seat that does not currently have a rookie driver, you have to replace that driver with a driver who has driven 2 or fewer Formula One races twice. So instead of once per year, it is now twice per year. So Max will have to sit out 2 FP1s. Yuki will have to sit out 2 FP1s. Isaac, I don't believe will have to because he is a rookie anyway. So they just consider his rookie sessions the first 2 practice sessions of the year. This also is interesting because Alpine reserve driver Ria Hirakawa, who is the Alpine reserve driver whose name I can never remember, my apologies, he will be in the Alpine belonging to a rookie that doesn't need to be replaced.
Well,
from a rules standpoint, Jack Doohan I don't believe he is, like, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please do.
This is mind games from Flavio.
That's
all it is. It is him messing with his mind, being like, look how easy I can take this away from you.
Which is exactly what he said on Drive to Survive.
It's not a healthy environment to prosper. I understand ruling by fear. I get it. I understand. Is it ever truly successful?
No. Yeah, but
I know
anyway,
we went on like a Jack hating spree, but now I kind of feel bad for the guy.
I'm not on a Jack hating spree. I am on a this is really unfortunate for Jack and he's not set up for success and that's bullcrap. But Hirakawa is a Japanese driver, which is why he is driving in Japan, and they just didn't want to give up, sure points for, Gasly, who's their number one driver. But Hirakawa is currently competing in the Endurance Championship for Toyota Gazoo Racing, which is a Japanese-based team, obviously Toyota, and he has a ton of but he has a ton of endurance experience. He won titles in 22 and 23, and he won the Le Mans hypercar category in 2022. So like this is a capable driver, but do I think that he is in the running for an Alpine replacement seat? No, I do not.
Yeah, but like we're not Flavio, so who knows what's going on in his mind.
I mean, obviously,
He'll be
first
like,
up,
wow, he did a really good FP1 and Jack did not score points. Unacceptable. You're
Bye,
in the car
Jack.
next weekend.
But also Franco Colapinto is going to be first off the it's going to be Franco.
Love of my life.
But I think it's very interesting that he's one of the many reserve drivers because they have two more reserve drivers. They have Paul Aaron and another F2, a current F2 driver. So there's just like Alpine is messy. It's very messy, but obviously Japanese driver driving at home, very exciting. This is exactly what Ayumu Iwasa got to do last year with Red Bull in the pre-practice session that he participated in. So like, I do think a little bit of this is for show.
Yeah.
But also this is not helping Jack. Like, come on. Give the man as much time in the car as he needs.
He needs a little bit more confidence. Yeah, this is not helping. Speaking of for show as well, just gonna keep rolling in here. We have fun liveries.
We do.
Yeah,
I like these liveries a lot.
I'm sure we'll have more because we're recording on Tuesday. Everything doesn't happen till Thursday. But yeah, so Red Bull is doing a white Honda tribute, which is cool. Will I be able to tell the Racing Bull car from the Red Bull car? Absolutely not. But hey, it's cool. It doesn't suck.
No, it's a for the fact that like I keep shitting on that Red Bull livery from last year where it was the Red Bull livery with red splatter paint just tossed on top of it.
It was fine.
It was not my favorite, and you know how I am with opinions, but this is a beautiful car. Like and we are obsessed with the Racing Bulls, and it is very similar to the Racing Bulls, but it's basically like a red version of the Racing Bulls livery, but it's so pretty. Obviously, it's inspired by the Japanese flag. It is also inspired by the Honda RA272 that was driven in Honda's maiden F1 win in 1965 in Mexico. So it's got a whole ton of connections, and this is like Red Bull's last hurrah with Honda as Honda's home race before they move on to Aston Martin, and then Aston Martin has to figure out how to do a white Aston Martin.
And then Haas is also taking inspiration from Japan. So again, talking about cherry blossoms, they have cherry blossoms all over their well, not all over, but like on the wing and on the side pods and stuff. Because cherry blossoms are like, I don't want to say like their national tree, but it's a big sign in Japanese culture. The sakura trees are very important in Japan, which I think is really cool that they're incorporating that, and they're just really pretty to look at. So
yeah, and it is the national tree.
Oh, good. Okay, I was like, I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't know.
Thanks, Google.
I'm just making up random facts left and right.
Yeah, and this is also, paying homage to their partnership with Toyota Gazoo, and also their team principal, Ayo Komatsu, is Japanese. Like, this is his home race, so this is like all of the American Japanese team connections we've got going on this weekend, which will be pretty cool. And I keep forgetting that Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg are not driving these cars. I'm like, wait, it's Esteban Ocon and Ali Behrman.
Honestly, like, I forget about them all the time, which is horrible. We've mentioned Pierre Gasly more times in this podcast today because we're only referencing him as a Red Bull driver.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways, okay. With that, let's roll into our predictions for the 2025 Japanese Grand Prix. So Pole, podium, P10. We pick them. We give ourselves points. It's really hard. We've gotten 1 point in 2 weekends. Hopefully we get more this weekend. And then for funsies, we pick biggest surprise of the weekend and also who's going to do a dumb or an oops. And those are just fun, so we don't give ourselves points for those, but it's always fun to see if we're on the right track. All right, so for pole in Suzuka, who you got?
I went with Oscar. I think that Oscar is just gonna keep on doing the Oscar things.
I do too. And honestly, I really hope he passes Lando in the World Championship standings. Like, I want him to win over Lando so much, but
Speaking of grudges,
said,
you have no idea how much I want that as well.
But with that said, I did pick Lando to get a pole. Okay, and then podium. And also we've changed up podium standings for ourselves, giving ourselves points. It was way too difficult to get the right order, so now we're giving ourselves a bone. If we at least get the right people, but in the wrong order, we're giving ourselves 3 points. So little fun catch up if you've missed a few episodes this season. Okay, so for your podium, who you got?
All right. Completely off of vibes. Completely pulled this out of my backside. I'm going with an Oscar win.
Okay.
Lando P2.
Okay.
Kimi P3.
Damn! I love it. Oh, I have chills. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Fully on vibes, and I'm like, maybe this is the weekend that George gets overtaken by his teammate.
Or just out-qualified.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Kathryn, I'm so proud of you. I really like this one.
So we'll see. That. I'm probably very wrong.
Oh, I know I'm wrong, but like, it's fine. I just like don't. And this is a thing. I feel like after this weekend, our predictions will start getting better because we'll be able to like truly know how people are driving.
God, I hope so, because this is so hard.
But then we're gonna start getting upgrades, and it's gonna be like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a Lando win.
Okay.
With an Oscar P2. And I have Lewis in P3. I won't quit Lewis. This will happen.
I mean, you don't have to quit Lewis, but you're putting a lot of faith in Ferrari, and the Ferrari.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, his driving is good and it's there, but then it's like the team that just drags him down. Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I really hope that you're right and I'm wrong, though. Like, I've never wanted to be wrong so bad. I'd love to see Kimi on the podium. Also, I know we both want to see Yuki on the podium. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Red Bull car is there yet, and it's his first weekend. But, like, I hope we see one this season.
I'm not going to rule it out, but not right now. I mean, no. and I don't believe, because Helmut talks about Red Bull bringing in upgrades, either Japan or Bahrain. I haven't heard about them bringing them for Japan.
No.
So we're going to run on the assumption that we're going to see something in 2 weeks for Bahrain.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, P10. We picked P10 because it's the last place on the grid where you get points. You get 1 point for P10. We give ourselves 3 points because it is very difficult. I'm just sticking with this like good vibes thing. I'm going Hajar.
Ooh, I like it.
I know. Like, I want him to get more points, but I feel like P10 is kind of where he'll slot himself this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he was moving forward, and Racing Bulls needs to figure out a better strategy and not screw that up again, or I am going to be really upset.
Oh.
But yeah, I think so. I am going with, I think I've picked this before, but I'm just like, I picked them all off vibes, so some repeats, but I'm going with Carlos again.
See, I hate that because I think he'll do better.
I mean, I want him to, but I think that he's still getting a handle on the car. There were some rumors that he was driving like a 2024 spec chassis, whereas Alex wasn't. But James Vowles has confirmed they are driving the same car. Carlos is just figuring it out. So,
which it's going to take a while. Like, he's not going to be perfection overnight. So
yeah, which
we'll get there.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what they need to figure out. Like, I'm not worried, but I think that P10 is a reasonable suggestion.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
This is Williams after all.
So. Exactly.
Okay, and then for big surprise of the weekend, I think that's pretty obvious what I'm choosing. I have Yuki scores big points and outdrives Lawson.
And I
don't think outdriving Lawson is like too crazy because I think that's going to happen naturally, but I think Yuki is going to get big points.
And I have that Lawson will score points in the VCARB.
You have way too much faith in this kid.
No. I will be surprised if it happens.
Oh. I mean, fine. That's fine. I'll accept it. Okay. Who's gonna have an oops this weekend?
I kind of foreshadowed it with my podium pick, but I think it's gonna be George. Like I'm feeling the George that's
like a DNF on the last lap of the race.
Singapore 2023.
He's only done it like twice.
Yeah, I think that I think that George he is due for a George moment. And that's with his former teammate having a moment last week, I think that he's up. And I think that that's why this is going to be a Kimi weekend over George.
Totally fair. I actually have Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. So I think Yuki's going to do really well. And they're going to have to answer for the oops that they did. And they're going to be like, well, shit.
We screwed up.
Yeah.
But they're never going to admit that.
They're not going to admit it, but like I would love nothing more than for Helmut Marko to sit there and admit that he should have put Yuki in the car earlier. But, you know.
I think hell will have to freeze over. So,
yeah, probably.
We'll see.
Okay, all in all, we're super excited. I'm back. I'm so excited to get back to racing. It feels like it's been 3 weeks, even though it has been 2.
Yeah.
Or I meant 3 months, not 3 weeks, because what's the difference between 3 weeks and 2 weeks? Anyways.
When I go to physical therapy and when I don't. That's actually it.
I was going to say, it's the difference between like a break and then us feeling like a fall break. That 1 week really does it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, before we depart, I would be remiss without asking for your F1 fun fact. So, Kathryn, we're bringing it back again this season. What is your F1 fun fact for us for this week?
Our F1 fun fact is they have just announced that Michael Schumacher's 2001 Monaco Grand Prix and title-winning car will be sold at auction, and it is going to be auctioned off during the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. Like, the bids will be opening right before qualifying if they've got it scheduled correctly. So this car is beautiful,
iconic.
It's an iconic, and it's specifically the chassis he was driving. So sometimes you go through a couple, you can go through a couple chassis as you go through a season, especially if you have big oopsies. But this is the chassis that he won in Monaco, won the title with 3 weeks, 3 months later. So this is going to go for big money. The proceeds are going to one of the charities that the Schumacher family runs that continues his charity work. So A, good cause, B, somebody is going to go home with a really nice spring holiday present.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who owns it now? Is it the team?
It's either Ferrari or the Schumacher. I'm going to assume the Schumachers probably own it.
Yeah.
Like, Michael technically probably still owns the car.
I wonder why they're deciding to do that. I mean, it's going to raise a lot of money, of course, but it's just like interesting that they're doing that.
Putting cars out in the world and getting other motorsport fans the opportunity to own pieces of motorsport history. So I think that's what it is. So
yeah, well. All right.
Yep.
Well, that is all we have for you. Coming up next, we will have our recap from Suzuka coming out on Monday. But that's it for the pod. Thanks for going off track with us, guys.